Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Core Productions. My co-host Stacie here talking about the original Quantum Leap, Season 4, Episode 8, titled Dreams. The episode's description reads as follows. Sam leaps into a detective that is working on a gruesome murder and must deal with flashbacks from his host. The episode was written by Deborah Pratt, and the episode was directed by Anita W. Addison. She would also direct the later season's episode Ghost Ship. 15 directorial stints for her in total. And she died on January 24th, 2004 at the age of 51. The 2004 Best Picture winner, Crash, was dedicated to her. That was a controversial Best Picture winner, by the way. And the episode takes place on February 28th, 1979, which is an interesting date because it's 3 days after my birthday, 2 years before it.
Yeah.
And the episode originally aired on November 13th, 1991. Before going any further, I'll tell you a couple of things. One, this is not a spoiler-free podcast. If you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you check it out, and then come back and give us a listen. Secondly, if you're listening on one of the platforms that this podcast is now available on, please follow, and feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Core Productions, where additional content can be discovered, both Quantum Leap related and otherwise. If you're already on my YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to my channel, as well as hitting the bell so that you get notified when content drops. Alright, so before getting into anything...
Oh, okay.
I wanted to bring up one thing.
Okay.
For preparation for this episode, I was on Peacock to watch this episode because unfortunately it's now no longer available on Roku for some strange reason.
The series or the episode?
Yeah, the series.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Peacock has the exclusive now.
Yes. And while I was there, I happened to notice the movie Night Swim, which has come up a couple episodes ago when we were talking about the Me Too episode. And Nancy Linehan, who played Mrs. McBain in that episode, is in this movie.
McBain.
And yes, McBain. And I was curious as to what role she played, so I watched a movie. And she's actually the one who shows the house to the family at the beginning of the movie.
Like the realtor?
Yeah, and she actually shows up several times throughout the movie itself. So I just figured you'd like to know that information. But yeah, and I also agree with your assessment that the movie was merely okay.
Yeah. Started off strong, and then I didn't like where it went.
Yeah. So we got birthday shout-outs this week.
We got a lot of birthday shout-outs.
Yes.
One reason is because we didn't do a Quantum Leap last week. So this is actually 2 weeks worth of shout-outs.
Yes.
Since our last Quantum Leap. So welcome back, everybody, who only tunes in for Quantum Leap. We have posted lots of great things in the last 2 weeks. So if you're only looking at Quantum Leap stuff, go check out our other content, because there's a bunch of things there.
Yeah.
All right, so first birthday shout-out, Sam Fain from Fate's Wide Wheel had their birthday on May 27th.
Ooh.
Happy birthday, Sam.
Yep.
And Dennis Freimeyer, Dad to the Future, had his birthday on May 29th.
Wow, that's pretty close.
Pretty close. Happy birthday to Dennis. Viewer Mimi Gallup had her birthday. We weren't entirely sure what day.
And we looked into this. We looked into it hard. We came up with June 5th or 6th.
5th or 6th. Yeah. Somewhere in the last few days. Happy birthday, Mimi. I'm sure you're listening, and I'm sure you will let us know.
Right, yes.
And finally, Albie from the Quantum Leap podcast had his birthday this past weekend on June 8th.
All right, so back to shouting out Mimi Gallup. She said this was a great podcast. She was speaking about the wrong stuff from 2 weeks ago.
The last episode we covered.
She says she couldn't wait for the next podcast. It's here, and this is a really freaky one. Alpha. The episode Dreams is one of the better episodes. I wonder if the psychiatrist in Dreams was inspired by Hannibal Lecter, the way he was able to convince people to harm themselves. Recall that Hannibal was able to convince multiple MIGs to commit suicide by swallowing his own tongue because he committed a Me Too act against Clarice Starling. I only vaguely recall that, by the way. But I think you and I kind of differ in our opinions on Dreams. Well, we will certainly get there. He also says about wrong stuff, Stacie won me over on this episode at the 3-minute and 40-second mark. Just yesterday, I was telling my son that it's okay to break rules sometimes. I told him we would still be a British colony, we would still have slavery, and Rosa Parks would still be sitting on the back of the bus. Well, not at this point, because she'd probably be dead. But I understand his point. If Americans never broke the rules, I will give wrong stuff and a leap between the states a pass just because there were commons. If DNA was copied perfectly without breaking the rules, we would be a single-cell organism because there would be no evolution. Stacie reminded me that we need to love chaos, order and chaos, yin and the yang, cats and dogs. Satan needs God, God needs Satan, And Dave, of course, needs his co-host Stacie.
Oh, thank you.
That's of course not part of his comments. It's just my personal comment. It doesn't come right after God and Satan, but just figured I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, I was happy to read that comment.
Yeah, we're not just doing a podcast here. We're changing minds. You change this person's entire world
it's really nice to know that we do have people who actually listen to us and actually come back week after week. Like, obviously we have a lot of people that check out our videos once and never come back.
Right.
And then we have, a lot of subscribers who might pop in once in a while. But we have these few core people that we know are coming back week after week because they do leave us comments. And to you guys, thank you so much for being here and for listening to us and for actually caring what we say, because that is insane to me.
Right.
That something I say can actually influence somebody's opinion.
Now, I will say that if you still didn't want to give the wrong stuff a pass because of its flimsy explanation for that, I would say that would be okay, while still giving a pass to Leap Between the States, because I think that works a little bit better as an explanation. But that's just my personal opinion. So, one last final shout-out. Ashley Wright said 10,000 likes. And I see what you did there. Nice try. All right, so I think 10,000 likes is a little bit unreasonable. So I'm going to lower it and say that from this point on, any Quantum Leap video that gets 50 likes, I will eat that caterpillar.
50?
The chocolate, yes.
Any video?
Well, not any video. I will say that any video going forward from this point on, any Quantum Leap, starting from the wrong stuff, 50 likes, and I will eat that caterpillar.
Oh my goodness.
Now, I'll tell you how you can get there. You can get there by sharing this video on your social medias, all across it. You can even advertise it as, this man will eat a caterpillar.
Not a live caterpillar.
A chocolate caterpillar.
Yeah, an approved for consumption caterpillar. Right. We're going to find one that was actually packaged and, we know is safe.
Right. If this video gets 50 likes.
All right, well, we can do that, guys.
Yes.
We can do that.
That is totally reasonable, I believe.
Because we get more than 50 views usually. So if everybody hits the like button, there you go. That's going to be a fun content too. I will start searching for that candy because I feel like we're going to get there. I believe in you guys.
Yes.
50 likes is very achievable.
And I will put my weight on this. I will help, advertise this in my social medias as well. So I will be on your guys' side. All right. So Stacie, your thoughts on this week's episode.
All right, I've not been quiet about my thoughts. I have said already, I don't like this episode. I've stated it multiple times in different videos. This episode gives me the icks. Every time I think about this episode, I go, ugh. And I did that right before we started recording. It's instinctively what happens when I think about this episode. Now, I procrastinated at the last minute to take these notes. I did them last night. I was not looking forward to watching. Upon rewatch, the episode did not improve for me at all.
Yeah.
I still feel like I got the icks. I don't even know exactly what it is. I just don't like this episode. I don't like it.
All right. So I was prepared to defend this episode. I thought that I would rewatch this episode. You would be saying what you were going to say, which I knew what you were roughly what you were going to say. And that I would be, at the very least, lukewarm defending this episode.
Sure.
Unfortunately, I find that it actually got worse upon rewatch for me.
Okay.
Now, it is not a terrible episode of television.
No, it's not a terrible episode of television. It's I don't even know what to say about it.
You did say that it doesn't feel like a Quantum Leap episode.
Right.
And I totally agree with you. If this were an X-Files episode, if this were Mulder and Scully investigating this crime, I would think I would appreciate that episode more.
Yeah.
And not only that, there's some holes in the plot of this episode, if you really think about it. Unless I'm missing something, and as we go through, maybe you can explain some of these problems to me.
Yeah, we'll talk about all of that, definitely.
If Alpha has a defense of this episode, I would love to hear it.
Yeah.
Any points that he wants to counter, please do. I would love your opinion, as usual.
So, watching this, it reminded me of the jokes that were circling around our Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Specifically in regards to trying to save Quantum Leap 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And the joke was being, if we just, call the next season Law and Order Quantum Leap, then it'll be saved.
Right.
Now, that's what this episode reminds me of.
Mm-hmm.
That they were trying to do a police procedural.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Well, it felt like Deborah Pratt was trying her hand at a psychological thriller. And I applaud her experimenting and trying to do things out of her wheelhouse. Unfortunately, I think this is one of her weaker efforts. And I'm sorry, Deborah. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
I hadn't realized that Deborah wrote this episode. And I was surprised to hear that because usually I love her episodes. And this one just didn't hit it for me.
No, unfortunately not. And the biggest problem, take your problem with the ending of the Me Too episode and multiply it by about 1,000 for me here. Because we resolved nothing in this episode.
Yeah.
The issue that I had with Permanent Wave, that Alpha gave a pretty good rationale for explaining why didn't we leap earlier, is about 1,000-fold here. Like, why didn't we leap earlier in the timeline? Okay, at the end of this episode, what do we resolve? Jack Stone, who didn't die originally, is now not dead, and the doctor is stopped. Okay, but what about the lives that are ruined during the course of this episode that don't appear to be fixed?
Sure.
Like, the kids are traumatized. The dad's wife is dead. Is he even going to get off the hook for the crime? Because Jack Stone doesn't know any of this information.
Well,
when Sam leaps out.
I did find some information. Okay. But we're going to get to that at the end. We're going to talk about the end.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's my thoughts. We probably should just dive right in. All right, so Sam leaps in, immediately stumbling in the dark. What were you going to say?
Well, so for my notes, realizing that the actual episode has an entirely different introduction than we got from last week. So I went back and started my notes during the wrong stuff.
Okay.
To get the full leap in. Because the one that actually appears in the episode is a full minute shorter.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
Okay, so if you start at the leap out from the wrong stuff, Sam leaps in holding a gun.
Okay.
And we hear a dog barking in the background, storming outside. He takes a whole minute walking through this house, looking in all the rooms. He goes up the stairs. He doesn't notice that he's stepping on blood, and he's causing bloody footprints to go throughout this hallway. And then when his partner Roselli calls out to him, he slips and falls into the pile of blood.
Okay.
And then we hear a noise, and Roselli tells him to check it out. Now, the actual episode starts with him in the floor on the pile of blood.
Right.
And it shows him leaping in there. Which actually is an important distinction, because later in the dialogue it comes up that he's the one who tripped in the blood, not his host.
Right.
Which we saw if you look at the leap out from the last episode.
Okay.
But if you're only looking at this episode itself in a contained state, we don't see that he's the one that tripped in the blood.
Right.
We don't know that the dude didn't just kill this woman and then was on the floor when Sam leaped in.
Right, so that is an important distinction because it's trying to cast doubt on the Jack Stone character in a way, which later comes up in the episode and is immediately dashed. But we'll get to that point later. So his partner asked him to check out the room. His partner is played by Pamela, is played by Jocelyn O'Brien. She has 15 credits for her. The most notable for me is a TNG episode in third season titled Allegiance. Sam opens the door and just discovers a very dead body.
Yeah, and this is the character of Janice, who unfortunately doesn't get a credit because she does not have any lines. She's very dead already.
Yeah, yes, she's very, very, very dead. And credits after he says, "Oh boy." After the credits, Sam sneaks around the room hearing some noises and points a gun at some children. The girl Leah is played by Noli Thornton. She has 17 credits for her, including a TNG episode, the 6th season episode Imaginary Friend, and the Deep Space Nine episode, the second season episode, titled Shadow Play. And I remember her in both roles.
She's also in 10 episodes of Beverly Hills 90210. So she had a little bit of a career after this.
Yeah. The boy is played by Michael Patrick Carter, who is in the movie Milk Money with Ed Harris and Melanie Griffith. And that credit amused me to no end when I realized that he was that boy. And he has 11 credits.
He's also in 2 different Child's Play movies.
I did not realize that.
Yeah. And the character, his name is PJ.
Okay. The boy is clearly traumatized and withdrawn, and Sam gets the kids out of there, making sure that they do not see their dead mom on the floor.
Yeah, he's carrying the little girl and kind of escorting the boy covering their eyes so that they don't see the woman. He hands them off to Roselli, and the little girl Leah says she wants her daddy.
It's very sad. The daughter cries for her father, and then she is taken away. Sam goes and looks for Peter DeCaro. As Sam works around the house, he sees his mirror image. He's David Garrison. 10 credits for him, including an episode of Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman. That was the only thing of note that I noticed on his credits.
I'm sorry, who are you? Who are we doing?
David Garrison. The mirror image.
Oh, mirror image. Gotcha.
Yeah, gotcha.
I stopped listening for a second, I think.
That's okay. You don't need to listen to things I say. That's fine. So Sam eventually finds Peter creepily talking to himself. He's played by Tim Ahern, who is still pretty active with 60 credits. The most prominent is 2 episodes of Tales of the Crypt and the movie Kiss the Girls with Morgan Freeman.
And I also picked out that he was on 2 episodes of Lois and Clark.
Oh, I missed that one. Sam plays hostage negotiator and eventually prevents Peter from killing himself. The backup arrives. The police survey the scene. Sam looks disturbed. I think he's still. I say he's downstairs, but I think he's still in the same room. He gets flashes of something when he sees a door locked. It's basically just images that he's getting in his mind.
So no, where he is now is he's outside of the bathroom.
Okay.
Where Janice's body is.
Mm-hmm.
So every time he looks at the bathroom doorknob, he gets these flashbacks where we're seeing a different door and a white doorknob. And it's so we're going to continue this throughout the episode. They're in black and white. I think the format's different.
Yeah.
Like the size format of the flashbacks. And they're really freaky.
Al arrives and says that he had trouble locking in on him because his brain was scrambled. I don't know if I mentioned this at the top, but Scott Bakula is really good in this episode.
I think he won an award for this.
Did he?
Yeah.
The acting is not my problem in this episode. The cast here is really good, as far as I'm concerned, including the villain, who I've seen before, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So the backup arrives. I've actually already said all that. So Sam sees blood on... Al sees blood on Sam and wonders what's going on.
Yeah, he's freaked out by the blood. Then somebody opens the bathroom door. He sees the body.
Right.
We know how Al feels about seeing dead bodies. So he's, over it.
Right. I would not be any better in the situation. But you would figure that Al, who has been in the military, would be a little better at handling this type of stuff than he apparently is.
Yeah, but he's not.
No. So Sam barely asks why he's there. And Al says he's there to save Peter DeCaro.
Yeah, there's a 99% chance he's here to save Peter. But Sam says he already did that. So why hasn't he leaped yet? And the answer, Sam, is because that would have been a very short episode.
Yes. And basically Pam is witnessing Sam talking to Al. Sam has a duo conversation with Al and Pam, and he says he didn't get there in time, while Al continues to be concerned about him. Pam offers him a ride home, but he turns her down. And as Sam walks out of the house, he talks barely to Dr. Mason Crane, and I'm sure this is in no way a relation to Frasier Crane from Cheers and Frasier. He's played by Alan Scarf. That's the best pronunciation I got for his last name, with 85 acting credits. I remember him as a very similar bad guy on Sequest DSB. He was also a regular on the show 7 Days.
Yeah, regular on 7 Days. He was in an episode of Stargate Atlantis.
Yes, I noticed that as well. He died really recently on April 28th of this year.
Oh,
yeah.
That's very recent.
Yes.
He also has some Star Trek credits. Did you happen to notice those?
I did. Yep.
Did you say that?
I did not.
Okay.
But yeah, which...
Usually we say Star Trek credits.
Yeah.
He was in an episode of Voyager and 2 episodes of Next Gen.
Yes.
And no, I don't know which ones, because I didn't look at that.
I think the Voyager episode I specifically remember, that was a second season episode, Resistance. And that's something I can name without even looking at his page. I just happen to know that.
Okay.
So Sam drives home.
One thing that came up during that last chat with Roselli that you didn't mention, I want to make sure we hit on, is the fact that Sam's host, Jack Stone, arrived first on the scene.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Roselli stated she was only 10 minutes away, and he still beat her here, which is important information.
Right.
For where we're going to go with this.
Very briefly, anyway. So, yeah, Sam is presumably driving home with Al in the backseat asking him what's wrong, and Sam feels like he couldn't have just leaped in there, and he says he doesn't know what's wrong, by the way, that he couldn't have just leaped in there to save Peter from getting the chair, or to save Peter from getting the chair. Wait, what? Where am I going with this?
Okay, so Al tells him, well, Peter's going to get the electric chair.
Right.
And he says, I couldn't be here.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you told me there was a 99% chance I was here to save him from committing suicide, which I did. Now he's going to die in the electric chair. So why would I be sent to save him from killing himself just so he can then get executed for killing his wife? When Al announces that he wasn't actually executed for killing his wife, he was executed for killing Jack Stone.
Which, oh, by the way, how the heck did that even happen? As we go later in this episode, it makes no sense that he was accused of the crime of killing Jack Stone specifically.
Well, maybe in this moment's history, it played out differently.
Maybe
he makes more changes before we actually get there.
Okay. So Sam says, only it's not him that dies, it's me. And we see flashbacks of Sam dropping to the ground, presumably dying.
Yeah, he literally sees himself dead. Which he'll continue to see that image throughout the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And we're told that this is supposed to happen in exactly 2 days in the same room that Janice is dead in that bathroom, at exactly the same time in 2 days.
Mm-hmm. So Sam leaps, sort of, or Sam sleeps, rather.
He leaps. He dreams.
Yeah, he's having nightmares of walking down a corridor towards a door. Sees a bloody version of himself, and he wakes up and he can't turn on the light. But he manages to do so with another light. He freaks out when he sees his own reflection, and Al's there.
Well,
why is Al?
He doesn't see his own reflection.
Well, he
sees Jack's reflection.
Right, that's what I meant to say.
It'd be really weird if he saw his own reflection.
Yeah, why is Al here? Is Al watching him sleep or something?
I mean, why is Al ever here?
It just seems like he just appears randomly in this episode for some weird reason. Just like, we don't establish him being here, and he's just all of a sudden there throughout the episode. It seems to be the case.
He is here a lot. Which is funny because he is so creeped out by all this. You'd think he'd try to avoid it.
Right.
I think he just has to be here more because Sam's not really here as much.
Right, yeah, because he's not acting himself.
Yeah.
Sam asks why Peter would want to kill him. Al tells him that there is no reason that they could find. And Sam says he feels possessed. And Sam asks him if he remembers when they simul-leap together. And Al says no. Okay, this is an annoyance of mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's a minor one. But I'm pretty sure at some point this season, after the season premiere, Al specifically brought up them simul-leaping.
He did. He brought it up before this, and he'll bring it up again after this.
So why is he saying he doesn't remember
Some speculation I've seen is that Al was lying when he said he doesn't remember.
Why?
Because he's trying to keep Sam from remembering. Because he's supposed to be keeping Sam from remembering Donna.
Okay.
So he's trying to be like, nah, I don't know what you're talking about, and change the subject.
Right, okay.
I've seen that speculated. I don't know if I buy that.
I don't like it.
I kind of feel like, I mean, sometimes Sam remembers things and sometimes he doesn't. But also he keeps sleeping, so it makes sense that his memory's changing a lot. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a little, it's a weird reference to throw in, right?
Yep. Yeah, so that annoyed me a little bit. But Sam feels like he has a part of Jack Stone in him. All right, so this is like one of the first times we're really playing around with the idea that...
Right. And I get why we mention the simul leap, because it did happen there. Like, Deborah was giving us a point of reference, right? Like a, what's it called in a legal case?
Precedent.
Yeah, giving us a precedent. Like, hey, we've done this before.
Yeah.
Right? It is possible for part of someone's, like, psyche to be left behind. And we do it again. We do it a couple of times.
I don't have a problem with it. But I would restructure this episode, and I will explain how later, I think. I don't think I should bring that up now.
Okay.
But Sam feels like he has a... Oh, yeah, okay. So Sam sends Al to get more information on Jack Stone, and Al is basically reluctant to leave because he thinks that Sam is operating in the fourth dimension or something along those lines. Sam goes back to the DeCaro house, has flashes while Al looks on with him in concern. You see Sam backing up, and then we see a shot of Al. It's a really nice shot. I just don't know why Al is just sitting there staring.
Yeah, wasn't he supposed to be, like researching Jack?
So I don't know why Al is even there at that moment.
So yeah, Sam's drawn to the bathroom again, right? Because he knows something about this bathroom is what's happening, and that's when he sees the flashes of that other door. Now this time, we don't see Sam there. We see a young Jack Stone approaching the door in the flashback. And then we see, dead Sam. But young Jack Stone, who appears in this episode, he is played by Brandon Loomis, And this is the actor that we saw already playing the scorekeeper in Play Ball.
Right. Yes.
Which is an uncredited role because he didn't have any lines, but that's the same actor. He was in movies Space Jam, Hot Shots, and then later in his career he worked as a production assistant. And he worked on all of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies and Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh, so he had a nice little career for himself. After appearing in this episode for like maybe a total of 5 seconds worth of screen time. So that's pretty good. So Pam and Sam continue to investigate.
And now it's the morning.
Yes. Pam reveals
Did he spend the whole night there waiting for her?
I sincerely hope not, but given how Sam has acted in this episode, I would not be surprised. Pam reveals that part of her heart was missing.
Part of Janice's heart,
yes.
that is.
Yep.
Which is creepy.
Yes.
And this is also where, I can see the correlation to, like, Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
I do feel that vibe here.
Mm-hmm.
What year did that movie come out?
It was early 90s.
It was a similar time to this.
Yeah.
I'm wondering which one came first.
We can certainly look it up. Sam eventually discovers he had an appointment with Mason Crane. And then later that same day, before he went on the spree of killing his wife, Sam wants to talk to the boy, and he wants her to dig up information on Crane. She wants to know if dinner is on or off. Al says yes, because it's to keep so he knows where Sam is going to be. And he says Sam asks the question out loud, why, which seems a little rude. But Pam is confused by this, but eventually Sam ends up agreeing to it. What exactly is their relationship?
Well,
are they just partners?
That will come up in the stuff I have to explain at the end.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
But yeah, it does feel a little misplaced here, right?
Yeah.
Because are you just friends having dinner? Because when we do see the dinner later, it's like she's all dressed up.
Right. It looks more like a date than anything else.
It certainly does.
But there's no indication either way what this actually is.
And what we're getting from Sam here is he's so focused on the case that he's kind of forgetting to live this person's life.
Yeah.
He's forgetting to blend in, and you've got a whole life to live, and he's just like so focused on what's going on in his head right now.
Mm-hmm. So he goes to talk to PJ, the boy at the hospital. He's still very non-communicative, communicative, I should say. Al tells him not to push him too hard. And he gets absolutely nowhere with this.
Yeah, he says, I'm trying to help your dad. I'm trying to figure out who hurt your mommy. He doesn't get through. The kid gives him nothing.
He goes to Crane, pretending to act like he's a patient. Crane says he isn't accepting new patients.
He accidentally introduces himself as Sam, completely forgetting that he's supposed to be living this person's life.
He tells Crane that he needs to sleep, that he's having dreams that need to stop. Crane tells him that part of what he's saying is the truth. And part of it is a lie, and to be there tomorrow at 4 p.m. and not to lie to him again, and he drives away. We have a really weird Al reveal here, where he's like, what are you doing standing around? Like, we just only cut to Al, and he's like, insisting that Sam break into the house. I don't even think that Crane has left the parking lot yet.
Right.
When Al was saying, what are you doing standing around for? And it was a really weird edit, I thought. But yeah, so they break into his office, which Crane sees him do. He basically, pretends like he drives off, but then he sees Sam go into his office.
So he knows that Jack has broken into his office. He also knows who Jack is, because remember, they met already, but Sam forgot.
Yes. Well, I mean, Sam wasn't even looking ahead.
Yeah, he wasn't paying attention to who he's talking to.
He was off in La La Land at the time. Sam discovers that he has seen both the wife and the husband. And Al doesn't have much on Crane, except that he eventually retired. So Stone retired in 1980, which means he didn't die in the original timeline, which is not made clear at all.
In the original timeline, Peter killed himself and took the blame for the murder, and that was the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Stone didn't get involved at all.
Right.
So Sam's already, changed things, obviously, a lot.
Which we didn't necessarily make clear in the earlier scenes. Sam insists he does get killed. He's seen his death. And Sam says he doesn't want to die, and Al tells him that he's not going to.
We also learned that his mother died when he was 10 years old.
Jack Stone's.
Yes.
To be specific. Dinner with Pam. They discuss the case. Pam says to leave it to homicide. She says he's trying to blow the case, and she can't, she doesn't understand why. He reveals that he's basically obsessing with this case, Pam's getting mad at him.
He's acting a very much like Harry Ambrose in the Sinner podcast.
Yes, yeah, he definitely is. So, yeah, she's getting mad at him, feeling like he's seen a lot worse than Janice DeCaro. And Sam says, "No, I haven't," because he hasn't been around for Jack Stone's life. She says that sometimes being a cop means knowing when to walk away. Sam says he can't, and he says he'll call her after his meeting with Mason, which I'm surprised that she's even going to let him do, honestly. But
well, I mean, can she really stop him?
I guess not. But Sam meets with Stone.
Sam meets with Dr. Crane.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, I had a hard time with the names on this one, too.
Yeah.
There were just like so many people whose names are all kind of forgettable.
Right. Dr. Crane, to be specific, Mason Crane, not Fraser Crane, as I said earlier. Mason reveals he knows who he is, that he is Mr. Stone, and that Sam broke into his office. Sam tells him that he wanted to find a connection to Peter's visit, and 5 hours later, him killing his wife. He asks about the relationship. Crane alleges that his wife was going to leave him. He then has Sam lay down and tell him about his dream. Sam reveals the dream. A younger Jack can't read a sign. He's in some kind of basement. He goes to open the door, but he can't. And he ends up flashing to Janice. He wakes up. Sam is struggling to breathe. And he says he took her heart. Oh, he's referring to...
so we went back to Janice now.
Yeah.
We were talking about Sam's dreams and about this door, and Sam's too afraid to open it. But the conversation goes back to Janice and the fact that her husband took her heart after killing her. So we're assuming at this point that the husband's the killer. We're not even looking for the killer. We're assuming the husband's the killer.
Mm-hmm.
And Crane gives some insight into this, totally, ignoring doctor-patient confidentiality here, and tells him that Crane took her heart. No. Crane says that, who's this guy? Peter. Yes. Peter took her heart.
Right, he's not confessing to the crime.
No, he says Peter took his wife's heart because she didn't love him anymore and wanted to break up. So he took her heart so he could keep it. He's giving, what he sees as a very clear motive here.
Mm-hmm. Mason offers to help Sam, and this is when Al appears and says he needs to leave. Sam starts to do so, and Al tells him that Stone had an affair 2 years ago with Janice, and says Peter isn't the killer, Sam is. And that's where we get into our commercial break. Ooh, this is exciting. Oh. But then in the next scene, this is basically trash.
Yeah, so...
This is a total red herring.
So Al is completely convinced. He's acting like he's got some evidence, but he has no evidence.
Yeah, there's no evidence. He's so sure of this with nothing.
He's like, you did it. You're the killer.
Yeah.
So the whole motive here is because Peter had an affair with Janice.
Mm-hmm.
Or, is that right?
Yes.
Do I have the right people?
Stone had an affair
Not
with
Peter.
Janice.
Jack Stone.
Yeah, Jack
Peter's
Stone.
the husband. My goodness. Jack Stone had an affair with Janice.
Peter did not have an affair with his own wife. That's for sure.
Okay, so 2 years ago. And the fact that he got on the scene first.
Right.
Which is all very circumstantial.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a really good explanation. Once, we stop being Al and accusing people of things without evidence.
Okay, so Sam goes to talk to PJ again. Al doesn't think this is a good idea. He thinks that if he's the killer, he's just going to set the boy off and he's never going to come back.
Right, but Sam, very rightfully so, says PJ wouldn't have left the bathroom with him in the first place if he was the killer.
Right.
If he knew I was the killer, why would he go with me?
Mm-hmm. But Sam does it anyway, despite Al's objections. Sam asks him who hurt his mother, and PJ ends up giving him a paper with hands on it, which Sam speculates is gloves.
Yeah, and we act like the fact that the killer was wearing gloves is some big helpful information, and I'm not sure why it is.
Right.
This is worse than the penny loafers assumption to me.
Yeah. So Sam ends up calling Crane, and he goes to the DeCaro house with Crane. Crane has him under hypnosis. He takes him through the dream. The basement he eventually sees leads to the pathology department. It was his mother's autopsy. Al appears to tell Sam that what Stone saw that day was flashing back when he saw his Janice DeCaro's body.
Right.
He started having flashbacks to the autopsy of his mother.
Yeah. So
my problem with this is that Jack Stone never saw the body.
Right.
Sam did.
Right.
So why is he having these psychological problems?
Right. So Sam is experiencing Jack Stone's actual memories.
Right.
And so physically what's happening during this whole recounting, during this therapy session, is they went into the actual DeCaro bathroom. So that's where they are now, which you're supposed to die here.
Right.
Shouldn't you be avoiding this room?
Yes. Not only that, but how is Peter eventually accused of this crime? Peter should be locked up at this point. There's no way they let him out. So how is he going to get accused of Jack Stone's murder at this point in time? Unless Sam changed history and they didn't bother to tell us.
I don't know.
So I think there's a bit of a hole here. But, basically, he tells Sam that he needs to snap out of it. Ziggy can't get a hold of him because he's under hypnosis. Crane is in his mind. Sam is crying.
And in the flashback, memory, weird, crazy scenes, we see, we don't see the autopsy, but we see, like, the coroner. Coroner's played by Wycliffe Young. And
I'm familiar with him. I don't recognize the name.
He was in the movies Monster in the Closet, Dudes, and Caged Paradisco.
He must have been in something else that I was familiar with as well.
I didn't... That's all I wrote down, but I feel like that's what I wrote down because those were his only credits.
Oh, really? Okay.
You can check again, but...
no, I'm sure you're right, but that name sounds familiar.
Because those aren't movies I would have picked out for any other reason than I didn't have anything else to pick.
Gotcha.
And you know, he's yelling at young Jack, "Get out of here, you can't be in here." So it's a really, like, powerful culmination of why we keep seeing this scene. Right.
So Sam says that Mason cut open Janice. He says she didn't give him his heart. Mason ends up saying this. So he took it.
And meanwhile, we see he's got gloves on.
Right.
And he's holding a scalpel in his hand.
Yep. And he says he's going to help Sam forget his pain. Now, exactly how did Sam realize that Mason was involved in Janice's death?
Right.
That's not established. And I'm going to get how they could have fixed this very easily. But Al tells him that this guy is nuts. He's reaching for Sam's gun. Sam wants him to take his gun to kill himself. And Sam says, with much struggle, he doesn't think so, and then he ends up shooting Mason dead. Sam slides down the door, and Al kneels beside him, and then Sam leaps, and that's where the episode ends.
Sam leaps into a single drop of rain. And, there's no dialogue here. There's no discussion on... There's no resolution.
Right.
Other than the fact that the killer's dead.
That's a huge problem for me, in the sense that, like, this is worse than, the Me Too episode.
All right, so I have things to add.
All right,
before I do that, let me see if there was any actors we didn't mention. We have the police captain, Captain Vincent. He's played by Bill Marcus. He was in 3 episodes of Lois and Clark.
Yep.
He was in an episode of... Oh, no, not Lois and Clark. That was somebody else's credit. He was in Law and Order.
Ah, okay.
My shorts here got me confused. He was in 3 episodes of Law and Order, as well as an episode of Special Victims Units, playing 4 different characters.
Interesting.
That tells something about the discussion we had at the top.
Yes. Yep.
He was in 7 episodes of Beauty and the Beast. That 90s live action thing.
Right. Yep.
And then we had Officer Talbot. He was played by Anthony Pina, who was in 2 episodes of MacGyver and 328 episodes of The Young and the Restless.
That's a lot of episodes.
Sounds like a lot until you realize there's like 18,000 episodes of that show.
That's true.
I don't get soaps. Okay, so that's all of the actors.
Okay.
All right, so I have things to say about the episode. But first, some information I found.
Okay.
Okay, so this information comes from Matt Dale's book, Beyond the Mirror Image.
Okay.
Which, if you don't have it, seek that out. You can still order it, print on demand. It's an amazing resource. And apparently there was an alternate ending to this episode in the script. It didn't say if it was filmed or not, but the script had a different ending.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to read this quote for quote from Matt's book, which I think in part is direct quotes from the script, but I'm not sure what's what. So I'm just going to read it word for word.
Okay.
Okay. After Sam collapses to the floor, Al notes, "I thought you were hypnotized." Sam replies, "Jack was, not me. Once Crane made him face what was behind the door, he was free. I was free. Al reads his hand link and reports. Crane killed 27 people. We couldn't put it together because he changed his name. You changed history, Sam. You saved the lives of 26 people. Sam asks, what about Jack? Will he be all right? To which Sam confirms that's probably supposed to be Al. Ziggy says, thanks to you, he and Roselli get hitched and retire to Florida.
Okay.
Sam says, I'm glad, Al. I'm really glad. And he leaves. And then Matt goes on to say that the ending we got was much more poignant. I don't think I agree with that. I feel like some of this explanation would have been really helpful.
All right. That still doesn't solve my problem of, what happens to the Carl family. Because last we left the kid, the boy specifically, he's completely traumatized and not talking.
Sure.
So we have no idea what happens to him.
But we know his dad lives.
Okay.
And isn't going to jail.
Sure. But
so
did the kid witness him killing his mother? Because...
Probably.
So is he going to explain to his, however old this kid is, that it wasn't really him that killed him? Because the implication here is that Mason made him do it, correct?
No, I'm pretty sure the dude did it, not the dad. And he was just blaming the guy.
Oh, okay. So
that's how I took it.
So
I took it that Mason Crane killed her and took her heart because he wanted her heart.
Okay.
But then
he
hypnotized the dad, Peter, into thinking he did it. And then killing himself was the plan. So that it would look like a murder-suicide.
I don't think that's stated anywhere, though.
That's how I took it.
All right. So here's how I would fix this episode. So I would have Mason Crane already working with Jack Stone. This is not an incidental meeting. He's already working with Jack Stone. He's already screwing with his mind. In fact, he was doing it that night that Janice DeCaro died. It would be later revealed that Mason was there and that he had hypnotized Jack Stone to forget that... Actually, I'm sorry. What I'm trying to get at is that he was hypnotizing Sam while Sam was there. So he was already in Sam's mind as well. And he made him forget that he was there. Or something along those lines.
Okay.
So
what really did happen was Janice called Jack that night.
Okay.
Jack was coming to visit Janice. That's why he got there first. He was already on his way there.
Calling him because her husband was going nuts or because Crane was there?
I don't know, but she called him.
Okay.
That did come up somewhere that she called him.
Okay.
But she called him because they have a history.
Yeah.
Maybe she called him as a police officer, like, hey, something's up here, I need help. Or maybe she just wanted to see him. I'm not sure. But we know that she called him, and that's why he was first on the scene.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But I still have so many questions. So, why was Sam picking up so much of Jack?
Yeah, when this has never happened before.
Do we have an explanation for it? Like, the other times it's happened, I feel like we've had explanations.
I feel like the explanation should be that Mason Crane was already screwing with his mind.
But I don't think that they're implying that at all.
No.
Because until Sam started changing history, Jack wasn't involved in this.
Right. And I'm pretty sure that not Mason. I'm pretty sure that Jack Stone did not see Janice DeCaro's body yet.
Right.
So there's no reason for him to be having this trauma.
Right. That's my next question is, how does Jack know that Stone was the killer? Even, how does Sam or Jack know that? Like, we're like, oh, it's not Sam knowing, it's Jack knowing. But why?
Right.
How does he know? How do either of them know this?
Right.
Unless both of them witnessed something.
Yeah, there's some holes here.
And maybe it's got something to do with the crazy editing. Maybe the cut we got at this, as well as the one we got at the end of the last episode, both cut something else out.
Right, that would have explained this entire story.
Maybe.
It's possible that in post they cut some things out that made the story more confusing than it needed to be.
Yeah. And then, was the real Jack able to recount everything that happened here? Because Sam was picking up him, was he also picking up what's happening on the Leap?
Not sure. I mean, that's not something that's ever happened in any other episode. Yeah.
There's a heck of a mess here.
Exactly.
Either way, there's a heck of a mess here, but does he even know anything?
Yeah, he can't, we've said this before, we're leaving the host in a rather precarious situation.
He's in a room full of death.
And he doesn't even know why. Like, he doesn't know why Macy...
He still looks guilty.
Right.
He still slept with this woman.
Yes.
He still was called here that night.
Mm-hmm.
And now the therapist is dead?
Right.
Does the husband know now that he's not hypnotized anymore? Does he know the truth? Can he explain?
Right.
Is the kid gonna talk?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like there's no resolution to any of this. As far as we're concerned, the kids' the family, the Carl family, their lives are all ruined.
I mean,
and we didn't resolve it.
In every form of the history, it was worse, though.
Yeah,
this is the best because the dad is alive.
The best is not very good.
Right. So, the best would have been, let's stop this whole thing from happening in the freaking first place. Let's get here before Janice dies.
Right.
Let's get here as the cop that she called and stop her murder.
Now, Alpha's... I'm trying to think about this through Alpha's.
I feel like if we had a second leap, where he leaps back in time to Jack Stone getting to the house before Janice's death, and then coming up and stopping the whole thing, that would have maybe fixed the whole episode for me.
Yeah.
If we had some reason that he's picking up all this and learns all of this, if he could use that information, then actually fix things.
Right.
I think that'd have been great.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit like the Halloween episode, only it would have actually happened here. You know, where we would have had a chance to go back and change it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, that's the biggest problem is there's no resolution to anything that happens in this leap. Now, if this were the X-Files, I'd be okay with that because that would fit right into that series. It does not fit into an episode of Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
I expect resolution. I expect the feel-good ending. Now, okay, so not every episode has had a feel-good ending, like Black on White on Fire, another Deborah Pratt episode, doesn't exactly end on a feel-good note, but you still get some kind of resolution that something positive came out of this situation.
Right.
Not so much here.
I mean, the positive thing is that we stopped a serial killer, but they didn't tell us he's a serial killer.
Right, yeah.
We just know that he didn't kill this dude.
Right.
Like, Peter and Jack are both alive.
Right, yeah.
And in either other version of the history, one of them wasn't.
Right. Yeah.
This one, I already think I mentioned this, is, you know, if you're told you're going to die in that bathroom in exactly 2 days, why are you going to that bathroom in exactly 2 days?
Right.
He's going there for a therapy session? Like, legit, that's why he's there. What are you doing?
Sam doesn't know.
Like, why would you do that? Why is Al not being like, don't go to that bathroom? So, this is the time you're supposed to die. Hello? Like, they don't even bring that up again. Like, This is the moment you're supposed to die. It's been 2 days.
So, I think a lot of the problem comes down to the writing of this episode.
Unfortunately.
Yes, and I don't like saying that, but I absolutely love Deborah Pratt. I appreciate what she was trying to do here. I just think it didn't work, ultimately. I mean, okay, so...
It's possible. I'm willing to blame some of this on the editors.
I'm sure, because there was a lot of weird edits.
I'm wondering if there was more to the script, even, than this ending. I'm sure there probably is. Because if they cut all this ending out, what else did they cut out during the process? Mm-hmm. It's possible that she wrote something that would have been a 2-hour episode, and they cut so much out that it doesn't make sense.
It's possible.
And then we got the little boy with the gloves. Did that help us any? No.
No.
Why did we spend so many scenes going back to talk to this little boy if it didn't give us anything?
Especially since, you know, this kid, he's permanently traumatized. Like, we don't resolve that in any kind of way. Yeah, I feel like... So whatever happens to him...
We spent too much time with him and didn't get enough out of it.
Yeah. And then we don't see the sister again ever, so what happens to her?
Yeah.
As far as we're concerned, this entire family's life is ruined. Okay, so Peter's not dead. Yay. But what kind of life is he going to lead? So, yeah, I don't know. I think this is the problem with the end of the Me Too episode times 10, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, like I said, the acting, really great in this episode. The guest star actors in this episode, Alan Scarp, he really great. It was very nicely atmospheric. It was creepy.
It was definitely creepy.
It's just... There's some things in this episode that just straight up don't make any damn sense.
I feel like there is a good story here.
Yes.
Somewhere.
Yeah, there's potential.
But it didn't get executed somewhere along the line.
Right.
And like you said, it definitely doesn't feel like Quantum Leap.
Right. All right, so we have anything else to say?
So we leaped in a single drop of rain. We're going to a lighter place next week.
Yes. I am fond of that episode. I understand that you're not necessarily.
It's okay for me. Like, it's just there for me. I don't have any problems with it.
We're going to see Anne Haney again. Anne, who was in the 8.5 Months episode. She makes a reappearance.
I feel like there's a couple actors in this
yes,
that are in multiple episodes.
Patrick Massett is also in the next episode. Patrick Massett was in a villain in a second season episode. I can't remember the name of the episode also, but it's the one where he marries the Japanese girl.
The Americanization of Machiko.
Yes.
Yes.
He was a villain in that episode. He also played Duras in Star Trek: The Next Generation. Okay. And I pointed it out when I talked about that episode. But yeah, he's going to make a reappearance as the host's brother.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really enjoyed that episode. I think it should be interesting to watch.
I don't think I have any problems with it. It's just, middle of the road for me.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But we'll see how I feel when I rewatch it.
All right, so we'd like to hear from you. If you have any defense of this episode, I would love to hear it. If you make sense of things that, we do not understand about this episode.
Yeah, maybe we missed something.
Yeah, feel free to drop us a comment.
Maybe there's different edits out there than the one we are watching.
Perhaps. All right, so Stacie can be reached at?
I can be reached on Twitter, X, Instagram, and Threads at TVN Coupon Talk.
All right, if you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join one of my Core Productions Facebook pages. You can buy something from the Core Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a coffee, which is a new way to support content creators such as ourselves. And I wasn't supposed to say that, but whatever. You can do the 99-cent membership.
You're making it worse.
99-cent membership to help support us. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video as well as subscribing to our channel.
And don't forget, 50 likes we need, and Dave's going to eat a caterpillar.
That's right. I almost forgot about that. Maybe I blocked it out of the
I think he's regretting it already.
Yes. All right. So, yeah, this is Dave and Stacie from Core Productions signing off.